Hi guys again, it's me here, your Martin Ryan Empire here. I'm gonna do a reaction for you guys. It's one of the best Hall of Famers to this date and this current era to this moment in time. Stone Cold Steve Austin is gonna be there at WrestleMania because I'm happy to Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that's the bottom line because Austin 316, because he said so. And this the thing to me, half a bit worried about Steve Austin comes back in the ring. I do. I care about Steve Austin, the guy, the character, a lot. Because to me, it was a good of a chapter when he first started started Austin 316, and then he ended his career with The Rock, one of the greatest matches with The Rock, one of the greatest feuds with The Rock, and then do three Rock bottoms, and then 1, 2, 3, and then Rock wins to hold. And to me, that's gold. That was gold, and to me, I love Stone Cold Steve Austin. I bought Stone Cold Steve Austin merchandise. I bought hats, merch. I'm a huge fan of Austin, and from back in the Attitude Era. And it'd be for one time, and a one time only, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that's the bottom line, because Austin 316, because Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to whoop your candy ass, what? And he's going to do a stunner on Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. That's my throat a bit. But this the thing. I grew up with Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Back in my childhood years. Back in professional wrestling. I was literally hooked to Stone Cold Steve Austin, the character, and the guy beneath the character as well. Because I listened to his broadcast every week and every month. And I follow Stone Cold Steve Austin in Instagram and Twitter. Because Stone Cold Steve Austin is one of it's one of those great guys and you look up to and say if you have a beer with and chat with and listen to their story. Steve Austin's story was such interesting. I was literally sit there for months and months and months and hear him talk, because Steve Austin is one of those great guys, one of the great Hall of Famers, because I was born at the late 90s, at the Attitude Era, because the Attitude Era was a lot of precious to me in my heart. And then it'd be good, to me it'd be a first time Stone Cold Steve Austin, for 3 years, Stone Cold Steve Austin at Texas, at the grandest stage of them all, Mania, is gonna... All I want from Austin is, I don't want no match from Austin. All I just want from Austin is a stunner and some 2 beers, and that's it. And he walks out the spotlight. Because to me, I don't mind Steve Austin shows up then and then. But it's just the thing. I just don't want, as a legit human being, I'm just worried of Steve Austin's neck injury. If you go back at where with Owen Hart is in the WWE network. And to me, Stone Cold Steve Austin was such as a person, brought me into the wrestling, not in the wrestling business, the wrestling industry of the Attitude Era, because I love the Attitude Era. I always does it, and it's like, I remember first time I used to go and then go to the toy aisle. I used to bought like Jack's figures, and it used to be a Stone Cold Steve Austin figures, and then oh man, and every time I go down to my cousins and watch like WrestleMania matches or pay-per-views and just watch Stone Cold Steve Austin's match, and because Stone Cold Steve Austin is such a inspiration for me. It'd be cool. Steve Austin just comes out WrestleMania, stuns Kevin Owens for the very first time, because just a brief appearance and then walks out. Because I as a fan of Austin, I don't want nothing for Austin. I just don't want him in the match. I'll probably strictly be honest, because I just want Stone Cold to give a stunner to Kevin Owens and then walk out. That's it. And just hear beers and that, because Stone Cold Steve Austin is one of those great characters in larger than life characters, and I love Stone Cold. And I said this loads of times. Stone Cold Steve Austin is one of the like SOB, like, and he still is to this day, and he looks badass, and that's why to me I always be an Austin fan, and no matter what, if Austin returns, I will still do my reaction as one of the great guys in the Attitude Eras and one of the great Hall of Famers. I would love to meet Hall of Famer is Stone Cold Steve Austin. But let's get down to it. Stone Cold Steve Austin confronts Kevin Owens at one of the most grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania. But let's get down to this. Here we go.
Always red.
Experience the thrill of Signature Live Casino.
Beautiful. Stone Cold Steve Austin still look good.
19 years ago, I wrestled my last match in a WWE ring.
I remember that.
After 3 rock bottoms, 1, 2, 3, I lost the match. And for 19 years, I've had to live with that defeat, knowing my time was up. Kevin Owens, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for waking something up deep inside me that I've kept buried for 19 years. Ever since you started running that damn mealy mouth of yours talking about the state of Texas, the great state of Texas, you got my attention. And why would you want to do that, Kevin? I can think of 2 reasons. 1, you are one dumb son of a bitch. And 2, you are fixing to get your ass kicked by Stone Cold Steve Austin. Whether you want to call this a KO show, a match, a fight, a brawl, whatever, I will guarantee you this. In Dallas, Texas, where I started my career at WrestleMania, Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to open up one last can of whoop ass on you, Kevin Owens. And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
It'd be so cool to see Stone Cold Steve Austin just come back for one time, and one time only, because this is the thing. And it's like, as a fan of Steve Austin, I just want him to come down in that ring, stun us Kevin Owens, does what he normally does. It like just hits 2 beers, and then when Kevin Owens stands up again, do a stunner again, stun Kevin Owens again. Because Stone Cold Steve Austin, man, it just, oh man, would say give me a hell yeah, with Steve Austin, because I'm happy to see Steve Austin as a fan of Steve, as myself as a fan of Steve Austin, and from the back in the Attitude Era. But in my mind, I'm still a bit worried. I don't want to be a match, but I just want him to come down, do a stunner, do some beers. That's it. That's all I want from Austin. Because Austin is always a great entertainer and always delivering that entertainment for us fans, enjoy us fans. Because like we know, we still predate Steve Austin, because Stone Cold Steve Austin is one of the greatest characters in my generation when I was, to this day, and I will never forget some incredible matches with Steve Austin, with Shawn Michaels, The Rock, The Undertaker, Kane, Bret Hart. Like, to me, if I say that, like, my first WrestleMania match, it has to be The Rock. I think it was Rock and... I think it was Rock, WrestleMania 15, if I'm correctly. And then WrestleMania, I think when Austin turned heel and teams up with Vince. I don't know what WrestleMania is at. Put comments down below. That's number 2. And then number 3 is where it was so sad, but it's for a good retirement. But Austin always comes back, and he always brings a good element of entertainment for us fans, enjoying us fans, because we love Steve Austin. Like, just give a hell yeah, and drinking beers and doing stunners, and just like and another, like, my favorite match where it was Bret Hart versus Bret Hart versus Steve Austin, and that was WrestleMania 30. And to me, and I think that was it, yeah, WrestleMania 30. And to me, that is one of the great matches. I will never forget it, where Bret Hart put a sharpshooter on Steve Austin, and then Steve Austin was literally bleeding all over down his face, and then, like, he did not tap out. And that's what I always love about that match. And I always watch that match time again and again and again. And to me, that will be the remarkable moments for Steve Austin, and including myself, really, because that is the incredible match for Steve Austin and Bret Hart. But it's going to be a first time Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to come at at Mania for the very first time to whoop ass and to kick ass and just do a stunner on Kevin Owens, lay some beers, and give a hell yeah. And because to me, that's what I ever wanted from Stone Cold. I don't want to be he injured himself, because I'm cared as a fan, legit myself. I just care about Steve Austin. I really do. But what do you think of it? Are you looking forward to Stone Cold Steve Austin gonna be there at the grandest stage of them all at Mania? Stone Cold Steve Austin is gonna whoop ass in Kevin Owens and lays a stunner and let's kick ass, and that's the bottom line. With Martin said so. I will see you guys later, and subscribe and hit that video. I will see you next video. Oh hell